Hello and welcome. I'm Raj Chengappa of India Today and your host for Nothing But the Truth. Every week we will deal with key issues of concern, bring clarity and perspectives as to why these matter to you, and bring out one clear truth. In this episode of Nothing But the Truth, we will deal with the new dispensation in Pakistan. There is a new Prime Minister, Shehbaz Shariff. We all know that Imran Khan left kicking and screaming after he lost the vote of no confidence in the National Assembly, and the Shehbaz Shariff was elected as the leader of the opposition. We will deal with the four key questions that this new dispensation raises. The first, of course, is Shehbaz Shariff himself. He has promised a new dawn for Pakistan. Will his promise actually be delivered, or will he end up, as Imran Khan did, bellying the promise of the Naya Pakistan that Imran Khan promised? The second is, what is the role that the army will play? As we all know that the Pakistan army is the most powerful entity, the establishment as it's called, and will that change with this new dispensation, or how will that relations be? The third question, of course, is Imran Khan himself. Is it game over for Imran Khan, or will he start a new innings and be able to come back as captain of the Pakistan political team? And the fourth, very close to us, is looking at how this new dispensation will impact India and the world. Will relations with India and Pakistan improve because of that? Will it be status quo? And what will be the impact of this new dispensation? We will deal with all these four questions in depth, but let's start with the first question. Who is Shehbaz Shariff? Will he be able to deliver on his promise? And what is likely to be his key priorities? Let's look at Shehbaz Shariff. He is not a political novice. He's perhaps one of the most seasoned politicians that Pakistan has. He has been thrice Chief Minister of Punjab, the most important province in Pakistan, which accounts for 44% of the National Assembly seats. Sharif, as a Chief Minister, is known to be a doer and a deliverer. He is a man in a hurry. He works at a frenetic pace. He has the bureaucracy under a tight leash, and he knows how to get along with the army, which is one of the most important criteria that is there. The only thing that he possibly doesn't have is the kind of charisma that his elder brother, Nawaz Sharif, had when he was Prime Minister thrice for Pakistan. Currently, Nawaz Sharif is in London, where he is being so-called medically treated, but he's really been convicted by the Supreme Court and other courts and faces a 10-year jail sentence for charges that were levied against him for having income that has been unaccounted for. His daughter, Mariam, is also being charged, and both of them have been disqualified from contesting elections. Now, that is a very important development, and if you see, when Shehbaz Shariff took the oath, or actually had the acceptance speech, there was a photo of Nawaz Sharif placed behind him to show just how important Nawaz Sharif is to the scheme of things. But let us deal with Shehbaz Sharif's major issues that are there. And first, let's define this new coalition that has come into it. It is a rainbow coalition that is formed the government. It has more than a dozen parties that are supporting it. And all of them have come together not ideologically, but basically to oppose Imran Khan. Now, in the assembly, to have a simple majority, you need 172 seats. Shehbaz Sharif and the coalition has 174. Just two more. That makes the entire majority for it very tenuous. The other issue that Shehbaz Sharif faces is that given the coalition dynamics and the mantra that is there, he would have to share spoils of power with them, which means that he will have an unwieldy cabinet, and this is precisely what Imran Khan is going to start attacking. So if you look at the priorities of Shehbaz Sharif, he first has to deal with the coalition itself and ensure that it is united and not cracking up. He has very little time for that because, the elections is next year, but that is also going to be a thing that he needs to prioritize. The fact is that elections is to be held in May 2023, but I don't think Shehbaz Sharif would want to go up to that. This is essentially an interim government, because what he would try to do is his biggest priority, apart from getting along with his coalition partners, is to try and sort out the economy. The economy is in a terrible mess. Inflation is running at almost 10 to 15%. the balance of payments that Pakistan has is very precarious. It is in danger of defaulting on its debt, and there is a possibility of financial collapse. So that entire economic mismanagement is something that Shehbaz Sharif will have to focus in his first few months. At best, what he will try and do is to give a clear direction to the economy and say, this is how I'm going to sort out the problem. He knows that this problem can't be sorted in the next 6 months or 9 months. But what he would like to show is that he is capable of solving it. And it's very important for him not to pursue the government beyond a certain point, because all the ills of Imran Khan, the entire anti-incumbency will start falling on him if his government lasts too long, and people will say, well, he's to blame rather than Imran Khan. So that is something that he has to deal with very, very clearly. The other aspect is a very tricky aspect for him, because as he gets into the election mode, it's very important that Nawaz Sharif and Maryam are part of the election process, because Imran Khan is a formidable opponent. So he has to find a way that he will be able to get pardon for them and they could at least participate in the elections, if not contested directly. Now that is going to raise its own set of issues that are there. The third or fourth priority, if you'd like to call it, of Shehbaz Sharif is looking at how does he deal with Imran Khan. Now Imran Khan is not going to allow him to keep quiet and have a peaceful stay and continue to do it. He is going to interrupt his governance at every single moment and will try to find fault with it. And one of the things Imran Khan has already done is he's got all his party members, the PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party, to resign from the National Assembly and make this entire government of Shehbaz Sharif look illegitimate. There's no legitimacy to it, in Imran Khan's words. He has already gone, and we have kind of seen the support that Imran Khan has got. Soon after that, when he held protest rallies right across the country, he seemed to have drawn huge number of people to these rallies, which means his support continues to be there. And secondly, he has moved in a manner that presents himself as a campaign strategy as a martyr. He has alleged that he was toppled because of a foreign hand, and in this case America, that had combined with this so-called villainous and corrupt opposition, and that is why he had been ousted. So he is going to the public as a martyr, that this is an imported government, this has no legitimacy, and it is corrupt government. And Sharif also faces the problem that his coalition partners, because an election is coming up, might want to make money fast. And this will be precisely falling into Imran Khan's hands, that this is the narrative. Look, these guys are inefficient, they are corrupt, they have just come in for the purpose of power, and you need to re-elect me. So Shehbaz Sharif has to tread this very delicate balance that is there, ensure that he's showing he's strong, he's able to control the coalition, he's keeping the economy on site, and very, very importantly, we have to look at the other priority is how is he going to be dealing with the army. And that, I think, is the second big question that we need to answer, which is what is the role that the Pakistan army will play in this current dispensation. To give you a quick answer, there's going to be no change in the Pakistani army's role. It will continue to be the real boss of Pakistan. It will control foreign affairs, it will control internal security, and they will continue to guide the democracy of Pakistan in a manner that they think suits them. Now, of course, there is a very big question that is happening in Pakistan, because we saw there seemed to be some turmoil or battle within, a power battle going on in the Pakistan army. There was rumors that Imran Khan wanted to sack the current army chief, Qamar Javed Bajwa, and replace him. Earlier, if you recall, Imran Khan was their favorite. He was in fact what they call a selected prime minister by the army. But he fell out with the army for two reasons. One, he had tried to foist the popular ISI chief at that time, who had handled the entire Afghanistan issue, which was a strategic triumph for Pakistan, Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid. He wanted him to stay on, whereas General Bajwa said he had to be shifted. Imran Khan delayed in the decision to have his appointment confirmed, and that was one of the big black marks against him for the army. The second thing was that the army began to get the flak for all of Imran Khan's inefficiencies in government. And they were being directly charged by saying that it is because of you all these wars are there. So the army wanted to distance themselves from it. But within that, the power struggle seemed to have happened, and we don't know how that will, what will be the development of that. But for all looking at the past, the army normally gathers its forces and makes sure that the institution and establishment of the Pakistan Army remains in control of it. So the turning point, or what we need to look for, is the fact that General Bajwa's tenure ends in November. This is the second extension that he's got. Will he get a third extension? Would there be a new chief? And who that new chief would be? Which brings us, in some senses, we'll have to look at how Imran Khan will now deal with the new realities that is there. What will Imran Khan's game plan be? And from what we have seen, the way he's launched his campaign, he is going to go all out. This is going to be an Imran Khan who doesn't play by the rules. This is not cricket for him. I mean, he'll change the rules to suit him, as we have seen during the Constitution. So he is going to try every trick in the bag, which means that Shehbaz Shariff he didn't want to. He said, this be a government that is not going to have any vengeance. We want to take Pakistan forward. We all need to come together. But sooner or later, he would have to deal with Imran Khan head on. And what he would try to do, one would gather, is to see and expose the misdeeds of Imran Khan's governance. Now that he has all the files of the government, he is going to ensure that these start getting exposed. Imran Khan, so far, has always projected himself as with a clean image, that there's no corruption charges against him. But in the inner circles, there have been a lot of charges being levied, and don't be surprised if the current Pakistan government begins to expose the misdeeds, including corruption, against Imran Khan, and bring his stature down to a notch that is there and keep that going there. The other and the final part of this episode is looking at what is the kind of relations India and Pakistan can have with this new dispensation. We all know that since the last 3 years, there's virtually no relations between us. It's a deep freeze post Pulwama, post all this thing. There's not been any movement. We don't have high commissioners in the two countries with each other, and there's been very little dialogue going on that is there. Should we expect dialogue between India and Pakistan? When you looked at the statements made by the new Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Shariff, he said that he wanted good relations with Pakistan, but then added, we need to discuss the Kashmir issue and put it in its perspective. Prime Minister Modi sent his congratulations to Pakistan, the new Prime Minister there, but added the caveat that he would like to see the region free of terror and terror elements. These are the hard lines and the red lines that India has drawn, and therefore you will see very little movement on that, because both are contentious issues, and Pakistan, as you know, will not, ever since the abrogation of Article 370, the new government can't be seen as following India's line on Kashmir. They will definitely oppose it, and that has been made clear by the new Prime Minister that is there. Now, the other major factor that is going to happen is that in December, most likely, the Indian government will have elections in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir for its assembly. That is a very important development for India, given that the fact after August 2019, after the abrogation of 370 and the bifurcation of the state, as well as its demotion into a Union Territory, this is going to be the first major election, and they would like a peaceful transfer of power. India will watch whether Pakistan will try and disrupt it, and that will be a litmus test. So the other issue that India has is, how long is this government going to last? Can we invest the kind of political capital that we should be doing, or wait till the new dispensation comes? And the same issues would be happening that side. They wouldn't want India to become an election issue. It is not an election issue. If you recall, Imran Khan actually praised India for its independent foreign policy. But would India want to get involved in the internal domestic issues of Pakistan? Certainly not at this moment. What will happen is that there's probably going to be a wait and watch kind of policy. Some people say that let's give it a little thaw, as long as we keep both our red lines clearly drawn on what we want, maybe get them into SARC, maybe try and use this opportunity, but these don't seem very possible given the kind of developments that are proceeding on this. What is the best thing that we can expect out of this? What is it that India wants? India certainly doesn't want, and the world also doesn't want an insecure and unstable Pakistan. For us, a political dispensation that is democratically elected and has the has the backing of the people is the best thing that could happen to us. So for us, we will be watching the new test match that is going on between the rest of Pakistan, as we could call it, the opposition versus Imran Khan. This is going to be a long, long, hot summer. It's probably going to be a turbulent winter before we see the light of day, but we hope finally that democracy prevails. We do not want either a political or economic collapse of Pakistan, and we wish them well. So thank you for watching this episode of Nothing But the Truth. We look forward to having you next week with another key issue of concern.